Pokémon Shining Pearl is a remake of one of the most memorable childhood games there is, Pokémon Pearl. So I decided to go down nostalgia road and play this game again, but with a twist. In today's challenge, I attempt to beat Pokémon Pearl in a Hardcore Nuzlocke. For those that don't know, Nuzlockes make Pokémon games harder, and Hardcore Nuzlockes make them, well, hardcore. Your Pokémon only have one life, you can only catch a limited amount of Pokémon, and you can't overlevel your team to sweep through every gym like it's a child's game. Even though it is. The last major rule is to nickname your Pokémon so that you can get attached to them before they inevitably die to self-destruct Geodude. Not that that's gonna happen. For more details of the rules, check the description below, and without further ado, let's get started. I name myself Nuz and my rival Boy, because I thought it'd be funny, but it really wasn't. Ow!
I'm fining you 1 million if you're late.
Well, I guess I'll be there before you. What?
It's a $10 million fine if you're late.
I can't with this guy, or boy. You see what I did there? Boy and I meet up and head to the nearby lake where we pick our starters. After rolling a die, we get 2, and pick up a quirky Chimchar, possibly the best starter for Sinnoh since his fire fighting typing and moveset make him useful throughout much of the game. After leaving our hometown of Twinleaf, we run into a simple Bidoof and catch a hardy-natured Shinx with the Rivalry ability. Shinx can either have Rivalry or Intimidate, with Intimidate being one of the best abilities in Nuzlockes, and Rivalry being not so good, so we got a bit unlucky here. With our newly created team, we head to Jubilife, and after picking up a Quick Claw, proceed to a new route, where Boy comes out of nowhere and challenges us to a battle. Unfortunately, Shinx sucks a bit in this battle since Boy's Pokemon are all male, so we start the battle with Doof and make use of his simple ability, which doubles all stat changes. We tank some quick attacks and a growl as Doof maxes out her defense with 3 defense curls, letting us take Starly out with a crit tackle followed by a regular one. Next up was Piplup, who hits us with Pound, which doesn't do much, as we retaliate with a tackle or 2 that doesn't do much either. While tanking Pounds, I decide to growl Piplup to decrease his attack by 6 stages, allowing us to safely change into Shin, who only tanks 2 damage from a Pound. With Shin out, we leer 4 times and change into Chimp for a quick kill, but get crit pounded before anything can happen. Knowing a scratch would be a 2-hit kill, we go for it, and get hit by Growl before taking Piplup out for good. That may have seemed a bit excessive, but Piplup's Pound was pretty powerful, and could have made for a difficult battle with several crits. By dwindling his attack and defense down, it became a much easier fight. In Route 203, we have a 15% chance to catch an Abra— okay, well, no more Abra then. For those wondering, in typical Hardcore Nuzlockes, the first encounter on any route is the only chance you have to catch a Pokemon on that route. But if it's a Pokemon you already have, like Bidoof, then you can go for the next encounter on that route. In my Nuzlockes though, if the first encounter in a route is a Pokemon I already tried to catch or already have, then I'm out of luck. In this case, it means that I can no longer catch a Pokemon on Route 203 since we already ran into a Bidoof.
I guess if you don't have a single gym badge, you're a total nobody.
That's pretty messed up. After catching a gentle Geodude we named Dude, I head to Oreburgh City and meet up with a fellow Nuzlocker. Giving nicknames to Pokemon is the way to go. It makes you feel as if they're your very own.
But he named our Psyduck Yellow just because of its color.
Wow, he's just as creative as me. Surprisingly, this game has many Pokemon you can catch before the first gym, which makes things much easier. I catch a Zubat named Zoo, and wait for 10 o'clock to catch Machop, since Diamond and Pearl have a time system that changes the encounter rates of Pokemon. Once it hits 10, the chances of a Machop increase from 35 to 55%. Anyway, after some waiting, we luckily find and catch Chop and head to the mines to find Roark, the first gym leader, who's been waiting around for a 10-year-old kid to impress.
Okay, stand by and watch this.
Yeah, that's kinda cool, I guess. After almost dying to a random Onyx, we train up our team, evolve our starter, and find a shiny Pokemon for good luck. We start the battle against the first gym leader with a Focus Energy as Geodude misses a Rock Throw. Next, we Karate Chop for over 50% damage as Geodude sets up with Stealth Rock. Another Karate Chop takes him out as Roark sends out his ace Granados. This works out for us perfectly since Onyx was his other Pokemon and could have screeched us, making this fight against Granados much harder. He pursues for almost no damage as we hit back with a crit Karate Chop that takes him out. Last up was Onyx, who hits us with Screech before going down to a crit low kick. That focus energy really helped us out. After picking up a memo pad in Jubilife, don't forget to subscribe, we tackle on Team Galactic and one of their commanders, Mars. Dude takes out Zubat with a Rock Throw and lowers Perugly's defense with Rock Smash, proccing her Oran Berry that restores some health. Since Dude is in range of dying, we change to Monferno, who gets hit by Scratch before retaliating with a pretty powerful Mach Punch, but it's not enough to take her out. After tanking yet another Scratch, we hit back with Mach Punch again for the win. On Route 205, we catch a Buizel, and after some training, evolve Shin, Bidoof, and Zubat, just in time for the second gym. Grass gyms tend to be pretty easy since grass-type Pokemon have so many weaknesses, so Zoo just wing attacks everything to death. After that easy battle, we head inside the old chateau to catch us a ghost Pokemon. But just like the last Nuzlocke, our encounter, Ghastly, kills itself with Curse. There's no time to mourn though, because next up was Commander Jupiter, another Team Galactor leader with an annoying Pokemon, Skuntank. Thankfully though, Dude gets in a magnitude 9 that takes Skuntank out and gets us the win. In Wayward Cave, we find a Bronzor we name Zor, but decide against using it since it doesn't have the ability Levitate, which we would need since half our team already dies to a ground type move. After some more traveling, we reach Hearthstone, and then run into Boy again, who gets taken out pretty easily with some super effective stab moves, causing him to run away in denial, thinking he's better than us like always. Back on the journey, we verse a girl with 5 Bidoofs, and almost die to a Krogunk before having Zoo evolve to her final form. After that long adventure, we enter Veilstone City where Team Galactic has their headquarters, and check out the town. I am not gambling again. Now, the 3rd and 4th gym both have a level cap of 30, so we really need to be careful as to not overlevel our Pokemon. In order to prevent this from happening, I head on to the next route between the 3rd and 4th gym to take out some mandatory trainers, and get humbled by Psychic Abigail. Without thinking, I spam some moves and take Ghastly out after getting confused by Confuse Ray. I then Water Gun Mischievous, but get stuck because of Mean Look. At this point I was pretty worried, but didn't have much of a choice and Water Gunned for some damage, but it was too late. A few Psybeams later, and Doof dies. I couldn't believe that I lost my first Pokemon to a random trainer. After that tragedy, we add Blue to the team and head back out to train, and then this happens. Oh my god. I have to stop slacking off and pay attention. Chop evolves, and we head to the 3rd gym for a battle Doof would be proud of. Meditite and Machoke go down easily to our fully evolved Zoo's barrage of wing attacks. Then, Lucario, her ace, comes out and we switch into Music, who we kept around for this moment. Music's purpose in life was to sing for Lucario to fall asleep, but he kept missing and dies before being able to do anything. Thankfully though, this lets Chop come in cleanly, allowing us to OHKO with Revenge. If I switched straight into Chop, Lucario could have crit killed our bodybuilder like it was nothing, so thank you Music. After the battle, Dude evolves, and we go on a catching spree before the next city. We get some Pokemon from honey trees that are pretty useless to us, and then catch a Girafarig we almost wipe to. In Pastoria City, I try to go for a Quagsire, which I really wanted because of his lack of weaknesses, but get reminded of Doof instead. At this point, we need to start prepping for the 4th gym. So we replace Graveler with Girafarig since Dude can't do much without evolving, and catch a Roselia that we plan on using for the gym. After training our Pokemon a bit, Shin evolves, and we head on over to the 4th gym leader, Crasher Wake. The half-naked cosplayer leads with Gyarados, who is left at 1 HP from a Spark because of Shin's rivalry ability, as we tank Brine for some damage. Crasher Wake goes for a Super Potion which lets us spark his Gyarados again for the kill. Next up was Quagsire, the Pokemon I wanted. I changed to our newly acquired Roselia, who tanks a Mud Bomb that decreases our accuracy before we retaliate with a Giga Drain that knocks Quagsire out. Quick Claw then lets us hit Floatzel for almost full damage before tanking a pretty heavy Ice Fang. I was ready to sacrifice Rose for the win here, but Crasher Wake isn't much of a Pokemon trainer and heals his Pokemon up, allowing us to take it out with a final Giga Drain. I considered keeping Rose on the team, but I didn't want even more of the team to die from Psychic type moves, so she'll be cheering us on from the PC. Sorry, Rose. After all that, we chase down a Team Galactic Whoops! Never mind, Boy ruins the mood with a fight before I can take on Team Galactic, and as usual, his Pokemon go down without trouble. I just really wanted to see Blue fight. That's why he almost died.
So hey, what was that Team Galactic guy all freaking out about? I don't know what he's up to, but you should chase him down.
Bruh.
After taking out the grunt, Cynthia runs into me and forces me to deliver a necklace to her grandma. I think she just hates her family. I mean, it would take her 2 seconds to fly there and give it herself, you know? Anyway, with the new mission in sight, I head forward and almost die to Geodude again. Why do they all have self-destruct? This next section of the game had me so confused as a child, so I decided to evolve a Cascoon we caught earlier and teach it Defog to make my life much easier. After stopping a Team Galactic grunt from bombing Grandma's town, Grandma gives me Surf, and I head on over to the 5th gym. But before then, I had some training to do. Blue and Chim evolve as we head on back to Hearthstone and start the battle against Fanta. We start the fight with a Spark that easily takes Drifblim out thanks to Rivalry, but takes some damage due to Aftermath, Drifblim's ability. With Mismagius out, we decide to change into Gira to bait Shadow Ball, which for some reason Mismagius doesn't use, opting for Magical Leaf instead. This was dangerous, since I was expecting to not get hit at all on the switch and have a clean path to victory. I went with the plan anyway and used Assurance, which procced her Citrus Berry, making this fight more difficult. At this point, a Magical Leaf crit could kill Gira, and most of the team would get hit too hard from her attacks, so I changed into Chop, knowing that she may die. Mismagius goes for Psybeam as if it knew I would change into Chop, and I knew it was all over. I go for Foresight so I could hit her next turn, and it connects, as Mismagius hits us with a Confuse Ray. At this point, I had some hope. If she used Magical Leaf for some reason, we could hit back with Revenge and actually survive. Luckily, she does do that, but our confusion makes Chop hit herself, and next turn, Psybeam takes her out. Her death was not in vain though, since we were able to get a free switch into Zoo, who hits hard with Crunch. And since I know Fanta will heal her Pokemon, I change into Blue for a Crunch that takes her to Red Life. She hits back with Shadow Ball, but another Crunch seals the deal as Gengar comes out to play. Zoo then tanks a Poison Jab and retaliates with a crit bite that takes her out for the win. My biggest mistake in that fight was not putting Person Berries on more Pokemon. In fact, if Chop held a Person Berry, he'd survive the fight against Mismagius. After some mourning, we head on out to some new areas we have access to now that we can use Surf and pick up Thunderbolt, Flamethrower, and Mystic Water. We also find a replacement for Chop, Savior, who with her water ground typing makes our team more rounded for future battles. Savior also has a modest nature, which is awesome, and Storm Drain, which I initially thought makes her immune to water type moves, but realized later was really bad in this gen because it doesn't. After finalizing our team, we run into Boy, who was a joke. I knew Brick Break wouldn't kill, okay? And find a shiny Doof while training. Hopefully a good sign for the future. Before taking on I teach Flamethrower to Chim and give Splash Plate to Gastrodon to increase her water type damage output. It's time for and his shovel. We start the battle with a Flamethrower that kills Bronzor easily before he sends his ace, Bastiodon, out. We change to Savior to handle the big boy, but get hit by Ancient Power, which procs a lucky Omni Boost for our opponent. But it doesn't matter, since a crit Surf from Savior takes out the original Shield Pokemon for good. Steelix then goes down to a Surf, and just like that, we get the 6th gym badge.
Anyways, come with me to the library.
No.
Before meeting up with Boy, I pick up the TM for Earthquake, which will come in handy later, and head to the library. As we talk, a tremor is felt, and we find out that Team Galactic blew up a lake. We head to the now empty lake to find a bunch of Magikarp dying on the floor with a grunt that says,
"Even Team Galactic has no use for Magikarp. Worthless. All of them."
which doesn't really make sense to me, since if they just trained them to level 20, Team Galactic would be able to rule the world. Nay, the universe. At the center of the lake, we find Commander Saturn and take him out pretty easily. But I have to wonder, what is that hairstyle? Commander Mars is a bit more difficult though. A Confused Ray leaves Shin, well, confused, but our Person Berry kicks in and we take it out easily. Next is Bronzor, who takes some damage from Crunch before hitting back with Gyro Ball, which does close to nothing. After I use Spark, since it does more damage, Bronzor retaliates with yet another useless Gyro Ball, and a final Spark takes it down. Last but not least is Perugly. We change to Chim, expecting Hypnosis and prepping with a held Chesto Berry, but she misses. This gives us the chance to hit with close combat for an easy KO. The last lake to investigate is up north, which is up a snowy mountain, but I, a 10-year-old child, was prepared. We head up the mountain and catch Sneasel and Snover before heading on to Snow Point City and entering the 7th gym, or in other words, the most confusing gym of my childhood. In just seconds, we reach the gym leader, whose name I can't say because of all the jokes associated with it. This battle was to be the most difficult of the journey so far. After that ice-cold fight, we run into Boy again, who ends up losing to Commander Jupiter and earns my respect for once.
That Pokemon called Uxie, it was suffering. It's not about winning or losing. That's not good enough. I have to be stronger.
Like an anime protagonist who gets humbled down to reality, Boy has grown up. And I have grown bored of this snowy scenery, so after picking up Ice Beam, we head on over to Veilstone City to take on Team Galactic and their boss, Cyrus. By this point, Shin's Spark wasn't strong enough to hit hard, especially because of her rivalry ability, so we teach her Thunderbolt, give her a Person Berry, and start the fight. The battle starts with a Thunderbolt that takes Murkrow out easily, but leaves Golbat alive with 1 HP. We get hit by Poison Fang for some damage as Cyrus heals his precious bat up with a Super Potion, letting us take it out with another Thunderbolt. Sneasel then comes out but goes back into his Pokeball after Chim flamethrowers him to death. And after the battle, Cyrus gives us a Master Ball for beating him, claiming that he doesn't need it, which is kinda dumb in my opinion. As we go to free the 3 legendaries, I run into Commander Furry, which I completely forgot we have to go up against. I didn't heal for this battle, but thankfully I kept my cool, and after some maneuvering around, we get the win. That hair is just special. With all of Team Galactic gone from their headquarters, we head to the peak of Mount Coronet to stop their plans of ruling the world with Palkia. Now, in order to reach the peak of the mountain, we needed Dude on the team as an HM slave and a higher level team in general, so we train everyone to level 45 and leave Dude at the daycare, where he learns Earthquake and Explosion. One of these moves will really come in handy soon. Foreshadow! As we reach the peak, we come up with a game plan. You see, this battle is one of the hardest in the game, since it starts off with a double battle and then goes straight into a single battle against Cyrus that's quite difficult. In other words, the first Pokemon in our party is pretty important to keep in mind. I decide to keep Chim out first since he'd help most in the double battle and wouldn't hinder us much against Cyrus. Before anything can happen though, Cyrus opens another dimension and proclaims,
"This is the mythical Pokemon that created Sinnoh."
Kagiagia.
Protecting him is Commander Jupiter and Commander Mars, who we end up double battling with the help of Boy. The battle starts with Chim using Flamethrower, specifically on the Bronzor with Light Screen and Confuse Ray, as we tank an extra sensory and Munchlax screeches his heart away. Next up was Perugly, which can be quite a threat, but goes down easily to a close combat from Chim. Bronzor decides to use Reflect, which is pretty helpful to us, as Munchlax continues to yell at Bronzor for some reason. Next up was Golbat, and with our defenses down from close combat, I decide to change into Shin, who tanks a weak Rock Slide as Golbat hits Munchlax with Poison Fang. Unsurprisingly, Munchlax flinches. I Thunderbolt Golbat to death as Munchlax tanks Gyro Ball and finally becomes useful by body slamming Bronzor to extinction. Next up was another Golbat, and with rivalry being on our side this battle, we easily take it out with Thunderbolt, forcing our opponent to send their last Pokemon, Skuntank, into battle. She also goes down to a single Thunderbolt. After the battle, Boy heals our Pokemon and leaves us for some reason, as the 3 legendaries we saved back in Veilstone break Palkia out of the control of Cyrus, screaming P 3 times.
P.
Cyrus is furious and says that he'll recapture the legendaries and do it all over again, but before that, he wants to take out the 10-year-old that ruined his masterful plans. We start the battle with Chim, who we have to switch out of because of an impending Drill Peck that can hit hard, but get hit by Dark Pulse on the switch instead. This wasn't good because if we get crit, we could die. Thankfully though, Choice Specs and probably a bad nature from Honchkrow helps out enough for us to get the Oko, as Cyrus takes out his Gyarados for some action. I thought we would have to avoid a crit Earthquake here for the kill, so I considered changing into Crobat. But since the AI seems a bit wonky in this game, we go for Thunderbolt instead. and get a lucky high roll for the kill. Unfortunately though, Weavile was next, which meant an explosion strat from Dude on Cyrus's Crobat for the clean switch into a Chim Weavile battle was no longer viable. Most of our team could die and are too slow to handle him, so I changed straight into Chim, hoping that Weavile doesn't go for Brick Break, his hardest hitting move, and luckily tank an Ice Punch for some damage. A crit Brick Break could kill us though, but thankfully Quick Claw comes in clutch and we get the kill instead with close combat. The battle wasn't over yet though, as Cyrus takes out his final Pokemon, Crobat. We won't have to sacrifice Dude anymore, so we switch into Zoo, but he gets confused from Confuse Ray. This makes us switch into Gastrodon to tank a Bite and retaliate with Surf, but not before tanking an Air Slash. Surf does a bit over half damage as I switch back into Zoo and Cypress full restores. Next I go for Confuse Ray since Fly can miss, and missing Fly would be really bad, and thankfully we're faster, so Crobat gets confused, but pulls through anyway and hits us with Cross Poison for some reason. Since he's still confused, I go for Fly and hit for some decent damage, but I tank an Air Slash as he snaps out of confusion that does quite a bit of damage. This is bad. If Crobat crits an Air Slash, we're dead, so we change into Dude since the rest of our team could die to a crit. Air Slash hits for some damage, and we make a crucial decision. Since Rock Climb can miss and Strength doesn't do enough, and our whole team aside from Crobat who can't take him out is too slow, we explode. Thank you for all your service, Dude. And may you rest in peace. After the battle, Team Galactic just disappears. Moments like this make me wonder what the police and Elite Four are for, if not to capture bad guys who are trying to destroy the world. As for Palkia, legendaries would make this Nuzlocke too easy, so I just run away. After saving the world, we head to the 8th and final gym in Sunyshore City, but before that, we look towards the league where Cynthia awaits and imagine ourselves as the future champions of the Sinnoh region. To prep for the gym, we teach Earthquake to Savior and give her an Earth Plate which boosts ground type moves. It's time for the final gym battle against Naruto's dad. We tank a Brick Break with Savior and retaliate with an Earthquake that takes our opponent out. Octillery then comes out, so we change into Shin, who's a bit weaker because Octillery is male, and we tank some moves while spamming Thunderbolts over and over. Next up was Volkner's ace, Luxray, who happens to have Rivalry as well, which in this case helps us out. We go for a crunch for some damage, but miss as Luxray hits us with a Charge Beam that ups his special attack. At this point, Shin was in danger, so I switch into Savior who baits the Charge Beam and then gets hit by a crunch before retaliating with Earthquake, proccing Luxray's Citrus Berry. At this point, a high roll crit crunch can kill us and nothing else. But luckily, we survive and hit hard with Earthquake for the kill. Last up is Ambipom, which literally can't hit us, so I take this time to have a little fun and Rain Dance Surf him to death. After that electrifying battle, we run into Jasmine and receive Waterfall, which will be helpful for the Elite Four. We then catch Tentacle in honor of our first Nuzlocke and proceed to Victory Road in order to become the champions of Sinnoh. In true tradition, I ready up a Master Ball for the final encounter of the run in Victory Road. Oh, it's a duplicate. Well, I traverse through Victory Road with little to no trouble and train our Pokemon up for the league. Chim ends up learning Flare Blitz, and we verse our rival Boy for the final time. I'm not gonna go into much detail for this fight because it wasn't that difficult aside from Empoleon, but it was quite a fun fight nevertheless. Boy had a decent team and a decent attitude, which was nice to see after all that had happened. Now it was time for the Elite Four and the biggest challenge of all, Cynthia. We start the battle against Aaron, the first of the Elite Four, with an ingenious plan. Flamethrower, everything. I'll be honest, when I was running the calculations for this fight, I was very surprised that Infernape could just blitz through everyone with Flamethrower, but it was a nice start to an otherwise pretty difficult Elite Four. Next up was Bertha, who needed some more planning before rushing in. In order to take Quagsire out quickly before Sandstorm comes in, we need to teach Grass Knot to Infernape and give some held items to the rest of our team. We start the battle with an expected Oko against Quagsire, as Bertha takes out Whiscash next. Whiscash was a bit of a threat because of Aqua Tail, so we think about switching into Savior, but end up going for Floatzel, since Savior's ability doesn't boost special attack or make her gain an immunity to water-type moves. Floatzel baits the Aqua Tail for minimum damage and 2-hit KOs Whiscash with 2 waterfalls. Next up was Pseudo Wudo, which goes down to a crit Surf, and then Hippowdon, who goes down to a Surf as well, which was pretty nice since Surf wasn't guaranteed to kill, and an Earthquake crit could have killed blue. Last up was Golem, who gets taken out with a final surf for the win. Next up was Flint. Our plan here was for Floatzel to one-shot his ace Infernape with a Mystic Watered Waterfall and handle most of Flint's Pokemon. The biggest worry was Drifblim and Lopunny, who both had annoying moves to deal with. I realized that in Pokemon games, one-shotting the first Pokemon of a boss trainer makes the AI change into its ace a lot of the time, which I was hoping would happen here to get rid of Infernape quickly. We start the battle with Blue waterfalling Rapidash to death and making Infernape come out just as I hoped. We use Waterfall and drown the Fire Ape to death, taking out Flint's ace quickly. Next up though was one of his more annoying Pokemon, Lopunny. Lopunny's ability is Q-Charm, which infatuates Pokemon of the opposite gender when they get hit by a move that makes contact. So Waterfall wouldn't do here. The other problem was that he had Mirror Coat, which could potentially take Blue out if I used Surf. So I decided to change into Chim to avoid those problems and get hit by a mere Fire Punch for minimal damage. I take this opportunity to close combat for the easy kill and restore the health I lost with a Shell Bell. Next up was Steelix, who like every other Steelix in the game, gets flamethrowered to death. And last but not least was Drifblim. Drifblim has Baton Pass and Double Team as moves, and Aftermath as an ability, which could have made this battle a lot harder, but as a final Pokemon was much easier to deal with. Since Drifblim's Aftermath can still be a problem though, and we lost some defense with close combat, I decide to change into Shin for some stab damage while Drifblim double teams. Thankfully I don't miss and hit for over 50% damage, even paralyzing him as a bonus. For some reason, he just double teams again as I go for another Thunderbolt that misses, and then he double teams for a third time. At this point I wasn't that scared, he had low HP and didn't seem in range for a full restore, so I decided to go for another Thunderbolt, connect, and get the kill. Last of the Elite Four would be the toughest. Lucian has a team of Psychic types, which aren't only dangerous, but also take out two of our Pokemon easily. If we want to become champions and beat Cynthia, we would have to beat Lucian without losing anyone on the team, so here's the plan. Lucian's first Pokemon is Mr. Mime, who has both Reflect and Light Screen, which would help demolish our team. In order to combat that, we gave Chim a spell tag and taught him Shadow Claw so that he can barely be in range to OHKO Mr. Mime. The battle starts off as expected, with a Shadow Claw that takes Ash's Stepdad out quickly. Next up was Alakazam, a heavy hitter that could do real damage to our team. Expecting a Psychic, I change into Gira but get hit by an Energy Ball instead, which does close to half damage on our Giraffe. Tanking another Energy Ball, we retaliate with a Dread Plate boosted Crunch that takes him out in one hit. Gira would die to a Crunch here, so we switch into Shin and tank Crunch for some damage. Shin then gets hit by a double hit and retaliates with a Black Glasses boosted Crunch that lowers Giraffurig's defense and takes it down to red. Thankfully, this makes Lucian heal his Pokemon up, and lets us get the kill with another Crunch next turn. Bronzong, his ace, is up next. Bronzong would be hard to deal with since its moveset was so dangerous to counter. At this point, Earthquake could kill, so I had the idea to change to Zoo to bait it, but the problem there was that Bronzong had Psychic, which could hit Zoo hard and potentially kill her. I wasn't sure how the AI was determining its moves, so it wasn't a surefire plan to bait an Earthquake here. No matter what I did, there would be a risk. So I switched into Chim for an anticipated Earthquake that could kill us with a crit, and get hit by Gyro Ball instead, which does close to nothing in damage. I take this chance to retaliate with Flare Blitz, which takes his ace out, leaving us with a bit over half HP. Last up was Metachan, so we switch into Zoo, who tanks a Fire Punch for some damage and take it out with Fly, winning the battle and defeating the Elite Four without any sacrifices. Next was Cynthia, arguably the hardest champion in all of Pokemon. One silver lining here was a Luxray, whose rivalry ability will become very useful. And another silver lining was Ice Beam, which we teach to Blue in order to handle Garchomp, Cynthia's ace. Using our last two rare candies on Gira and Blue, and handing an Icicle Plate to Blue in order to boost his Ice Beam, we head on to the final battle of Pokémon Pearl against the champion, Cynthia. We had no way to OHKO Spiritomb, especially since it has no weaknesses this gen. So we start the battle with a Mystic Watered Surf from Savior that takes her down to a bit below 50% health. After tanking a Dark Pulse, we go for another Surf that takes Spiritomb out for good. Hopefully taking it out in 2 hits meant that Garchomp wouldn't come in next, and Roserade would instead with its 4 times effective grass moves against Savior. Thankfully, I was right and Roserade comes out to fight. I take this chance to change into Zoo, expecting a grass type move, but getting hit by Shadow Ball instead. It's not a problem though, since we just use Fly and take Roserade out in 1 hit. Things were looking good, but her next Pokemon was Melodic, which was quite powerful. I change into Shin to bait an Ice Beam that hits and retaliate with a lucky Thunderbolt that crits for the kill. If Melodic had the chance to surf and it crit, we would lose Shin and possibly the run. With luck on our side, Gastrodon comes out and we decide to change into Zoo to bait an Earthquake, but she goes for Stone Edge instead. At this point, Zoo has fulfilled her purpose and unfortunately has to go down. We hit Gastrodon with a Fly for some damage but die to a Muddy Water. Thank you for your service, Zoo. You will not be forgotten. After much thinking, we take out Savior to face her sister in battle. Savior hits with Earthquake while tanking a Sludge Bomb for some reason. I don't understand why Cynthia didn't make her Pokemon use Earthquake, but listen, I'm not complaining. Anticipating a full restore and seeing a 2-hit KO with Earthquake, I continue using it, but it doesn't kill. Gastrodon is left at red HP again, probably due to a nature that buffs defense. And this time she doesn't heal, hitting us with a crit Muddy Water instead that takes Savior out for good. Knowing that I'd need Blue and Chim alive for her last 2 Pokemon, I change into Gira and use Psychic, finally taking Gastrodon out. Cynthia's next Pokemon was Lucario, and I knew I couldn't safely switch into Chim, so Gira hits with a Psychic before going down to crit Earthquake. I take Chim out and Flamethrower Lucario for the guaranteed kill, which puts me up against Cynthia's ace, Garchomp. I knew Chim wouldn't survive, but he needed to do some damage for Blue to one-shot Garchomp with no issue, or else we lose. After a close combat that takes Garchomp down to a bit above 50% HP, we get hit by Brick Break instead of Earthquake for some reason, and have around 50% HP ourselves. Another close combat procs her Citrus Berry, putting it out of range for full restores, and Dragon Rush takes us out. Chim, you've done more than enough. It was Blue's time to shine, with Ice Beam being in range to kill due to Chim's sacrifice, and Blue being faster than Garchomp, the battle was over. Blue Ice Beams for the win, and we become the champions of the Sinnoh region. Without Doof, Music, Chop, Dude, Zoo, Savior, Gira, or Chim, we would not be champions. Thank you for your service, and thank you, the viewer, for watching.